So you want to know how it feels to play Citadel, huh? You want to know the Citadel Experience? Well, you've come to the right person. Generic Citadel main back at it here again, just to show you how weird as the class Citadel is. The first thing you'll notice about Citadel is his shield and heat, and for good reason. He's the only class in the game to have special shield and heat properties. For instance, he can hold up to 7 bars of heat. He also has a shield health of 150, and gains heat whenever you hit his shield. This makes turtling a pretty viable strategy at the beginning of the game, given that you're not against Assailant or Revenant. It's pretty funny to see your opponent run around you, waiting for you to screw up, when all you're going to do is simply shield. But I digress. You don't always have to turtle like this. You can be a moving turtle with the hitbox. Let me just show you. Now, how does this work? Well, whenever Citadel hits a crystal when he SP2s, or uses his secondary special, all end lag on SP2 is cancelled. Yeah, you heard that right. All end lag. Do note that this isn't exclusive to Citadel. Revenant can do this as well with a guard break, but with a catch. He has to land his guard break, which is notorious for being really fucking slow. With Citadel, all you gotta do is hit a crystal, which you can place wherever you want. And what's the best part? You can do literally anything from SP2. You can fake out your opponent by cancelling your momentum by jumping. You can trap your opponent with Mod 1 SP5. You can safely pressure by using launcher. You can attempt a shield break using guard break on 2 crystals. The possibilities, while albeit limited, are pretty fucking large. And the fact that Citadel can do anything from SP2, well, it makes him a hell of a mix-up magician. Citadel can always force his opponent to stay on their toes and ensure that they don't have a chance to get in. Speaking of which, the fact that this move property exists clashes with Citadel's role as a tank. He's supposed to be pretty slow. True, his normal sprint speed and acceleration are both generally low, but he's still able to dash around the map with ease just with a push of a button. Yeah, good luck killing this tank when you have to work just to catch up to him. Aside from this confliction of class type and gameplay, Citadel has another attribute that makes him stand out from the other classes in Black Magic 2. For instance, he's one of the only classes in the game to have a lot of moves that have different frame data depending on the situation. The simplest move can be seen with his SP1. Using his SP1 without modding it fires the laser. However, when you mod his SP1, it fires the laser upwards at a 45-degree angle. Not only that, it comes out decently faster and you have decently reduced end lag. It's pretty neat. Or it would be if you ever use Mod 1 SP1 in fights. No, seriously, the only time I use this move is when I need to remove crystals in the air. Anyways, let's see the more relevant example. When he uses his moves in combos. In essence, it has the same principle as the SP1 situation. Whenever you're comboing someone, 2 moves in particular have drastically reduced startup. These 2 moves being SP3 and SP5. This addition has a huge impact on Citadel as a class, but more on that later, because we need to focus on the question. What does this contribute to the experience of playing Citadel? Well, if I had to describe it, it'd be Reset God. Let's imagine a scenario. You land a light auto combo and after its 3rd input, aka LAC3, summon a crystal and use a launcher. You're able to summon this crystal and continue the combo because of SP3's reduced startup and end lag. Following the launcher, you use JSC2 and Mod 2 dash, followed by a Mod 2 SP5. By this time, your SP3 cooldown should be up, so you can summon yet another crystal. And at this moment, your opponent is, as we in the business say, royally fucked. You have 2 crystals down, meaning that they can't really shield, because if they do, their shield gets broken with SP4. You have SP5 down, meaning that they can't really escape your offensive options. They are forced to use their escape tool, and if they do, that's one less option for them with your 2 crystals in neutral. And better yet, if they don't have their escape option, they have to predict the option you're going to do and either side dash or use Assailant's Mod 1 SP5. This is where your big brain, or hell lack thereof, comes in. Citadel may be a reset god, sure, but if you don't know what you're doing, you can actually be punished for taking the wrong option in the reset. Just take a look at this. If you get too reckless with your crystals, you may end up being the baited instead of the baiter. So you have to watch your opponent's movements. You have to outsmart your opponent to unleash Citadel's limitless potential. Citadel may have the tools to put your opponent in a tight spot, but only you have the ability to capitalize accordingly. In other words, you have to be the omniscient player here. So what have we covered thus far? Well, Citadel's pretty damn good at resets and mix-ups, given that you, the player, are able to understand your opponent. And as a cherry on the top, he's pretty mobile despite being a tank. But what isn't Citadel good at? Well, it's anything that's close quarters. But not always. That's a terrible way of saying that, let me rephrase it. He can't safely pressure his opponents unless he has his tools at the ready, namely SP3 or SP5. With LAC, you just got SP2'd by a rev. Missed SP2? Yeah, you're getting launched by Kurai. Even held SP6 for too long? If you haven't broken their shield, you're getting punished by, well, every class. And just to add salt to this wound, Citadel is terrible at contesting opponents. If you're seeing an opponent do a move, chances are it's already too late to contest it. Your safest option is to generally shield or side dash. So how does this affect the Citadel experience when you're in close quarters? Well, it makes it terrible, especially when you're against classes like Assailant or Revenant, both of which thrive off of close quarter combat. But it's not entirely a hopeless situation. Of course, there's always room to outplay your opponent. This ties into the big brain that you need in order to fully capitalize on Citadel's potential. Know your opponent and what they'll do. Know your limitations and those of your opponents. Maybe then, you'll be able to come out of close quarter interaction victorious. So when you're playing Citadel, you're slow. What about it? You can get interrupted mid-move on a move that you casted first. It's painful, very painful when something like that happens. But when you're playing Citadel, you won't let that get you down. Because the experience of trapping someone with endless possibilities negates that. Because the experience of watching your opponent run around you helplessly negates that. Because the experience of instantly breaking your opponent's shield negates that. What is the Citadel experience, you ask? One of great pain and suffering until you reach that magic moment. What that moment is, well, it's up to you to find out. But what if I told you there is a way to find this magic moment consistently? What if I told you that everything I just said about knowing your opponents and reading their movements was all a lie? Because, well, although it's not entirely false, it's sort of a white lie. Citadel has one move in his arsenal that leaves his opponents temporarily helpless. Heavy auto combo. This move on its own just looks bad. It has incredible startup and from the naked eye doesn't really combo to anything except launcher. However, this move may just be one of Citadel's most broken moves. You see, for starters, it's safe on shield. It also doesn't count as a physical attack, so assailants can't really do shit about it unless they interrupt the startup or mod their SP5. It has C scaling, which allows you to do even more damaging combos than classes like Assailant. And the best part about it, it blinds your opponent. Now, don't get me wrong, the combo damage you can get off of this is insane, but all combos eventually fall off in damage due to how scaling works. By ending a combo in HAC, you're basically resetting the combo and the scaling of it, because during the time your opponent is blinded, you're free to do anything you wish. You could summon more crystals and your opponent wouldn't exactly know where they are. You could guard break 2 crystals and force your opponent to waste their side dash, after which you could use SP4 to either break their shield or deal massive damage. In essence, you put your opponent in a 50-50 that they can't win at all. Well, unless they perfectly predict exactly what you're going to do and act accordingly. It's with this that makes Citadel such a satisfying class to play. He takes so much effort just to put your opponent in a tight position. But oh, when he does. Your opponent has to play out of their mind just to reset neutral. While all you gotta do is press a few buttons. Yeah, the Citadel experience is one of pain and suffering. But it's also one with fail-safes, because no matter what happens, you'll always be in control of the situation. So what is the true Citadel experience? It's one of meticulous planning, one of controlling your opponent. You may encounter pain and suffering, sure, but only if you let it happen. The true Citadel experience, in all honesty, is one for you to decide. Will you be predictable and have a terrible time accordingly? Or will you predict your opponent and flawless them within seconds? The choice is yours, my friend, so make it wisely.